Dan, I have waited 1 year to say this to you.
Oh boy. And what is that?
Happy anniversary. Happy 1 year anniversary for the Wood Hounds Podcast.
Woo! Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's been 1 year since we uploaded our very first episode.
1 year. When I saw that, I've kind of been waiting for this date, but then when it came, it just snuck up on me. And we were sitting down here to record, and we're like, holy cow, look at this. It is. So we are recording this episode on our 1 year anniversary, the first day that we had gone live in the podcast universe.
Yeah. I thought it was in March, so I thought we still had a week or two to go, but we looked back and sure enough, our very first upload was February 22nd of 2022.
2/22/22. That could be a t-shirt, Dan.
Yeah, did we plan it that way? Maybe that was the idea. I don't know.
We could say that we did.
Yeah.
We could say that we did, and then we could pass out awards. It would be the Deuce Award.
But wow, what a year it has been. What a year.
Do you remember when we kicked around the idea of a podcast for a while? Dan, do you recall what we had first talked about when we were really going to give the podcast thing a try? Do you recall what our first goal was to accomplish?
The first milestone?
The first milestone.
Yeah, I think it was. I know we kicked around for how long? Like you said, we were debating whether or not to do it. And I think our first goal was to reach 4 episodes.
Yes. Right? 4 episodes. And then, so, we thought, well, will podcasting and firewood actually work? And we were thinking, well, what can we talk about? And we were thinking, well, we got splitters and chainsaws and elm and firewood processors and mud. And, then we thought, well, what happens if we run out of topics? And so we budgeted ourselves 4 episodes. We had both splurged and bought ourselves some quality microphones. And here, the next thing you know, it's been 1 year. We just blasted right through that 4 episode goal.
Yeah, that was like nothing. That came and went real quick. We got by that hurdle, no problem.
And I sit here right now and think back about it. It just feels like it's just about a year ago,
Yeah, it does. It seems almost a little over a year ago. A couple of days past a year, we were sitting here and we were like, all right, can we make this happen? Can we sustain podcasting content on firewood? And we both kind of had our doubts, but then I think as we got into it, we realized that there's just so much you can talk about with firewood, so many avenues to go down. But yet the other thing is, Joe, and I don't know if you realize this about you, but we have our personalities that we can talk about as well. That I think people just kind of like hearing what we think of things, not so much, informative. Here's the specs on this splitter. It's like, well, what are your thoughts, Joe? How do you like?
Yeah, I don't think I can exactly climb into the heads of our listeners, but I think, at least I get from my feedback, that's one of the appeals that people have with both of us is, we're not, well, I guess, gearheads. I was just listening to a guy that he was an economist, and, he's just given all of this inside baseball, these calculations and all these theories and all. And I was like, gosh, all I got to know is how expensive is gas right now, There's a level of practicality that I think we both bring to firewood. But then, when you think about our new approach for the new year, we thought we would try and get people to sit down with us and we could get to know them better.
Right.
And, some of some of the more interesting topics have been kind of on the scientific side of firewood.
Yeah.
Moisture content and all.
Right. And stoves and burning, how to properly burn, efficiently burn. And And yeah, and just quick back to that comment I made. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and like, toot my own horn and float our own boats that we're some, superstar, rock star podcast host. But in the same sense, I think it does take something to, it does show that being able to have a podcast that is fairly successful, we are getting decent numbers on our downloads. After a year, I think we have to give ourselves some credit as well.
Decent numbers. Dan, we're getting awesome numbers.
And I mean,
Holy cow.
don't get me wrong. I've made probably more people mad than I've pleased over the course of my YouTube channel. I'm sure people. So like I said, I'm not trying to say that we're just, something spectacular, but yeah, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie. I still don't think of myself as an influencer. And, that YouTube thing just snuck up on me. It happened by accident, but it's kind of fun. And I've always been the type of person, I spent 20 plus years in corporate life and being told what to do and got to chase my tail to get my bonus and turn off the coffee pot when you're the last one to use it. Don't park over the top of the lines in the parking lot. Someone's going to yell at you. And, the self-employment thing, that whole arc of mine, and then the YouTube thing, it's just, it's fun. So if it's fun, I'm going to do it. I had a comment the other day, a guy says, why, you should be putting out more videos each week. That seems to be the trend. And I told him, if that is the trend, I'll do what I want to do, and that would be too much like a job.
Right.
So I'll just keep things the way that it is, but it's not to say, that I'm still not ambitious. And then I think maybe this podcast represents that, because it's not like it takes a lot of time, but you still got to sit down and do this. And I don't know, Dan, it's kind of fun. Well, it is fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's fun, and it's just something to, use that term, a hobby, I guess. It's just something you enjoy doing. We're not right now. I'm not looking at it as a chore or a task. It's something that, like you said, we sit down, we hang out, we have a good time, we have a little fun, we record the podcast, and here we are a year later.
Mm-hmm. I remember you said that, when we were trying to think about what are we going to talk about, and you had said, that there's always something that you are addressing in one of your videos, but what can you get across in a 15-minute video? And that you felt that the podcast could be used to amplify or go more in depth into an issue. Yes. And I think that's kind of like what we've done,
Yep. Yeah, I think it gives us opportunity to just talk more in detail or just share more of our thoughts and what we, our opinions on things. That's sometimes in YouTube videos, you only have so much time, in my opinion anyway, like you only have so much time to, really hook the viewer, keep them there, and then deliver whatever form of entertainment you want, whether it's, I do entertainment. I'm not so much into DIY, but, so you only have so much time to get your message across. We're here, we can talk about things. One topic can go for however long. I mean, look at Harry Watt. How many topics? Jeez.
Yeah. Still my favorite episode of all time. I wish we could find others out there with like the same background, the same wide base of knowledge base out there, and I could have so much fun just shooting a breeze with that guy.
It's a good thing we didn't start with him first episode. We'd just gone downhill from there.
But I also think too that our YouTube experience, because it does take a while. I go back and I look at some of my first videos, and I was pretty stiff. I didn't bring my shtick into my videos.
You didn't have
like I
swagger.
do now. Where I'm like when I run my shin into my hitch, all that kind of stuff, and roll around on the ground. I wasn't comfortable complaining about the weather with everyone as I am now. But when I go back to our very first podcast episode, I thought it wasn't that bad,
No, it was good.
I thought we just talked about our goals and both of our fears. And that's why we set such a lofty goal of 4 episodes was, can you really, talk about firewood on a podcast? And if you could, will anyone find it entertaining or of value? And that's why, if we're going to spend money on these microphones, um, we'll give it a shot, but let's at least try to do 4 episodes. And then,
Yep.
man, I think right after the first episode, I think we knew that, I think we're going to be around for a while.
That's right. And it's just, like I said, I mean, it seems like when you sit down and you just start thinking about it, like, early on when we were just thinking about it, it did seem like, okay, this might get to be, too much work. What are we going to talk about? And I think a lot of people, whatever they're looking at doing, they do that. They overanalyze and they think something can't be done instead of just going and doing it. And that was kind of your message, when we were talking about, you're like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Sit down, record, and do 4. And so thanks for pushing us.
Yeah, well, that's been my style with everything, it seems, so far. I don't have the master plan for my firewood business. I don't have any plan for my YouTube channel. And that was the impetus was, you get into all this planning and this and that and charting. And I was like, God, just do it, man.
Right.
Just get it started and then figure it out along the way. So I'm glad that you come along for the ride.
Yeah,
I think it's been a lot of fun.
Glad to be here. And like I said, I'm kind of one of those people sometimes where, I tend to not. I was like, well, all right. I look at all the down things and say, well, maybe it's not worth it.
Dan, do you even remember what our first episode of the Wood Hounds podcast was about?
I think we just talked about the possibilities of having a podcast on firewood.
I think you're right. And would it actually work?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, Dan, I don't want a broad brush, but I got the sense that there's a learning curve for people about what podcasts even are. And we did get feedback from people that said that we are the first and only podcast that they had ever listened to. And, if you had a streaming service, because we are on all the major streaming services, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all, people were just blind to podcasts. They didn't even know how to search it or find them or nothing. So I think that, if you go back and listen to some of our early episodes, we were doing a lot of educating on how to find us and how to listen.
Yeah. And I think that, that's something that we need to obviously just continue doing. But I think, as with anything, I mean, I had a comment somebody left me that said they didn't know about the podcast either till I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And they were just searching for something to listen to while they were out splitting wood, and they typed in firewood. And so, like now when we first started, obviously a search term for firewood probably didn't bring back very many results, but now, it's going to bring back,
every
50,
single episode.
Yeah, every episode. So that's the other thing is just getting out there in the space, the podcasting world, to be searchable and be, discoverable and to be found by people. I think that's just continue to grow.
I would also add, if anyone out there, if you're listening to us, like especially on Spotify or iTunes, where you can rate the podcast with stars, go ahead and click on the stars and give us a 5-star review, or just be honest. If you think we need to improve, go ahead and score us accordingly. But that is one of the metrics for podcasts and getting recommendations is how many likes, or not, what do they call them? I think just ratings.
Just ratings.
Podcasting. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the podcast thing too. Now I listen to them a lot. I just have a lot of varied interests, but I do know, man, if you type in firewood, because I use Spotify, if you type in firewood into the search, sit back and look and see what shows up. Cause it's like the first 50 returns is all.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think a year ago you would have had very many results come back.
No, there is a marketing firm from like San Francisco called Firewood Marketing, and they have nothing. They just market like diapers and cars and stuff. They just happen to be called Firewood Marketing, and they were coming up. But it wasn't us. But now it's the other way around. Yeah. Yeah, that was the other thing too that we had both noted was there were no other podcasts about firewood, and was there a reason why?
Yeah.
you know, was there a reason why, and are we just going to be throwing away money on these microphones? But I would have to say no, and I'm glad that we bought these microphones.
Yes. I think the other thing is you always hear that saying, you got to walk before you run. And I think that's one thing like with the podcast here is we needed to see, you know, where it was going to go, where it would take us, how we would like doing it. And now I think we're kind of getting into that position where we might be, able to, I don't know, maybe pick up a sponsor here or there, or, start making this actually of some sort of value to us as well, which I know
Uh-huh.
sounds greedy to some people out there because they don't, heaven forbid, they don't want you to get paid to do anything. But I think, and that's the other thing where I think if we would have just started with the ambition of, okay, let's start a podcast so we can, you know, put money in our pockets, that would have been the
Uh-huh.
wrong motivation. That would have been the wrong direction to go.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly not the case. But I go into it with, that eye, because I even know with like YouTube, there's when you hear what other YouTube channels do, and I don't mean firewood channels, but just influencers in general, man, gosh, they are like a finely tuned machine just firing on all pistons. And they got multiple revenue streams and all. And I don't, I just mostly rely on the ads,
Yeah.
and I really don't even do product reviews. If they come around and they're appropriate, I'll do it. But man, there are other channels out there that do, the paid sponsors. They run commercials and making celebrity appearances for fees and all. And I mean, more power to them. I'm a capitalist, and there's no shame in making a profit. But that is just, I don't know. Like I said, it's just, for me, it has to be fun, and a lot of that stuff to me is just, I don't know. It just seems too much like work.
Yeah. It can get to
Mm-hmm.
be a lot of work and it's a lot of unknowns and, uncertainties of, I don't know. I've slowly been looking more and more into it just because I've kind of been, I don't know, hedging on the I'm kind of on a two-way path. There's a fork in my road.
Oh wow.
Increase firewood production or create content. Like I want to focus more on one than the other. And I don't know which
And
one yet.
the poet laureate Robert Frost would tell you to take the road not traveled.
Well, that's the problem is I don't know which road, which roads, if either have
Yeah.
even been traveled at all. That's, and that's, but it does, it's the other funny thing that I've, noticed is like with YouTube starting out, it was a completely different world that I started in just because of COVID and pandemic and everything. And a lot of people, started supporting the channel, getting on board, subscribing, following, all that stuff. But then it's kind of like there's some people out there that I think when you grow and when you succeed, it kind of turns them off, and they get to the point where they're like, I liked you better when you were small. I don't,
Yeah.
and that's what I fear with this podcast is I don't want to be too
Nah,
successful.
nah, I don't see it like that. I know exactly what you're talking about, Dan, but I would say that at least with my comments and my subscribers to my YouTube channel, I've never once got a comment like that where, um, they've noticed that I've changed or that, I'm not appealing to them anymore. And maybe I would run that risk because I started small, and now I'm growing and we're going to be moving into a legitimate retail and industrial production area. So I'm getting pretty big. But I don't know if that is, maybe it's just with the appeal of the channel. I think what people appreciate with me is, Dan can attest
You're
to
a
you. This
nice
is not
guy.
I'm not making this up. I'm a simple guy that's just trying to figure this out. And I have no formal schooling in business, just from my professional career. And I'm just trying to figure it out on the fly. And that's what my channel is about. So I think maybe that same appeal that people have, like when you drive past a train wreck and you got to turn your head and take a look. They used to see that same thing with me when I'm standing knee deep in mud and I'm saying, where's all my wood?
Well, and you're just a nice guy. Like I said, you're a nice guy. You're a likable guy. I'm like a natural heel. Referring back to the wrestling days, I'm kind of like that. I don't know. Sometimes I come across the wrong way, I think.
You're like the Iron Sheik of
Right.
of firewood.
And I've actually held a lot of it back. I have way more I can give on the heel side. So you might see a turn in my channel coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, you and me have become pretty friendly. I mean, we don't mail each other Christmas cards or anything like that, but I have seen that you have that ability to go to the dark side.
Wait, you didn't get my
every now
card
and
for
then.
Christmas? Dang it, lost in the mail again.
All that money is just lost, huh?
Yep.
Uh-huh. So Dan, I'm just curious. Do you recall your very first YouTube video?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do indeed. It was a gem, let me tell you. Boy. I'm still waiting to get the Academy Awards for it.
Uh-huh.
It was yeah, I remember exactly what I did where I was, I didn't talk very much in it, and I only had like maybe a handful of comments, and that was it. I was off and rolling.
Yeah. What was it about?
I was just splitting firewood for the roadside stand. I had my splitter out front, and I was splitting into a little garden wagon on the back of the lawnmower. And my son came out for a little bit, and that's about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What about you? What about your first video?
My first video was about the Ultra Tech dump trailer. I literally just bought my Yappa 365 and that dump trailer. Bob Nelson gave me a deal on it because he was hauling that machine down from Michigan or from Wisconsin. So and that was right at the 1st of March, and that was right when all the colleges got shut down for COVID, and my daughter got sent home, and she was bored, and we just did a video on that dump trailer. What the heck,
Yeah.
And we put it up, and I think like 4 people saw it, and I recall the second episode, I thanked the 4 people for watching my first video. But when I look back on it, that was really the start, because then the next video I started putting in my processor, that Yappa 365, and it was different, man. And no one really seen a machine like that with, and when you think of firewood processors, it's kind of the opposite of what you think about. And, people didn't really think that it was as productive as it was. And I just kept showing it and showing it. Next thing I know, my channel's blowing up,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still remember my first favorite milestone. And it is still, my first milestone, my most favorite milestone was when my channel hit 100 subscribers.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. I led into a video about thanking them for being my first 100.
And then the big milestone of the 1,000. That's the that's the real big one that really makes things interesting.
Yeah,
when you can monetize.
Yeah, you can monetize, and it makes you feel legit when you get to be at 1,000. But yeah, I remember all of those, and I used to do like a little celebration. I'd get out the super splitter and split wood with it. But like 100 was a big one for me. I still remember a lot of milestones. Here's a trivia question for you. Who was the very first person to ever comment on one of my videos? And he is also the first person to ever super chat me on one of my live streams.
Ooh.
And this is proven.
I have no idea.
You give up? It is none other than Joe Barney from Joe's Premium Firewood.
JPF.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
He is my very first comment ever. He commented on my dump trailer. And my very first live stream, I think that was when I hit like 5,000. I did a live stream and had some giveaways, and he was the very first person that gave me my super chat. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
And at that time, he was probably one of the first, probably one of the only firewood channels that was on YouTube, or the ones that were consistently putting out content.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you give yourself at all like a goal with YouTube like we did with the podcast here where you were going to do so many videos or go for so long before something you changed your plan or anything?
No, I almost quit because things got weird there for a little bit because my channel got real big real fast, and I was getting just strangers showing up at my house.
Ooh.
And that was weird, because I never once said where I live, you know, and I don't know how it happened, but strangers found out my house and they just started showing up at my house. I was like, "Who are you?" You know, and it was scaring the girls.
Yeah,
So,
that would
I
be.
know. Okay, I'm just saying, everyone that showed up was well intended. They're very nice,
Yeah.
but you got to admit it's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's not very cool.
Yeah, so serious. We almost quit putting videos up because unintended consequence. And you don't know what you're getting into. You didn't know where it was going to stop. And uh, it was we talked it over there for a while. That was when my oldest daughter Emily was taking the lead, with the videos, and she was saying, "Let's do a video on this, let's do a video on that," and she was having fun with the editing and stuff. But then, that's, I don't know, just because we grew really fast, really quick. I went from like 100 to 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000, in like a matter of months.
Yeah. That's what I gave myself 6 months to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. And then if I didn't reach that, I was gonna, reevaluate and see whether or not I wanted to keep doing videos. But
Oh, really?
yep. But I
Huh.
started at the end of July, and then by November, I had hit that. So
Oh, wow.
I was like, all right, here we go. Let's keep it rolling.
Why did you decide, or what made you start doing videos? And then did you always know it was going to be firewood, or were you going to like do other stuff?
No, I knew it was always going to be firewood. I had just started selling, and I had kind of I have a little background in videography and editing, and so I had a little hobby of making videos from before, and I figured I'd combine that with the hobby of firewood. And then I found out, about YouTube and the possibilities of, wait a minute, you can actually make money by doing this. You can actually
Yeah,
get paid. And so
I
then
was the same way.
yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to set that as my goal. Like if, even if it's, 25, $50 a month, whatever, it's like, that's still, it's like, that's extra money I didn't have. So
Right.
that was my goal, 6 months.
Yeah, I still remember when my daughter told me that you can monetize when you get to 1,000, and I thought she meant that I had to start paying to put videos up. Because I didn't know. Yeah, I was like, "What?" It never ever occurred to me, about the business model of YouTube. Not a
Yeah.
once. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was all, and that's what I'm saying. It was all just everything. Just is just overwhelming for me. And but then after a while, you start figuring out your purpose and what lane you're in, and then you do get the sense too that people genuinely are invested. And I had made a comment before, like, I never excelled at individual sports. I always had to be on a team because I had to feel like I was obligated to someone else. And then I started getting that sense too, where I didn't feel like putting out a video, but I didn't want to let anyone down. That forced me to get out there and, film something and put it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's kind of, that's the challenge with like anything like this whole social media, podcast. I mean, there was, I think, what, two times, once or twice where we weren't able to record, and yeah, it kind of, it kind of like you feel like you're letting people down. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Hmm. But I'm the same way too. I don't, the whole self-employed thing is all new to me as well. So that everything was just, I was out of my comfort zone. I still remember my very first day of not driving into work, and on my morning commute, and it just felt wrong, and it was scary. And then, the YouTube thing, and it was just, so I make money with YouTube. What I always say is I don't make chump change. But it's not life changing money either, but it is still certainly worth it for me to keep at it. I do. When I put out videos, I don't even know if I even consider, boy, this one here can make me a lot of money. You know,
Yeah,
um,
no.
some of my biggest videos were just low budget stuff where I was literally just holding up my cell phone and did like a selfie kind of a video where I just walk around and talking into my phone. There was no super editing. There was no, you know, sound effects or music or anything like that. It was just me just speaking what was on my mind.
Yeah, I think keeping it simple like that is one of the reasons why people connect with YouTube, because it's different than like a highly produced, highly edited, well put together TV show.
Right.
People are turned off by TV shows. They want to watch someone on YouTube. It's just simple, straightforward. And
That is one thing consistent with my videos is that we did buy a nice camera, but we rarely use it. And really, my Emily's the only one that has the skill set to run it. I have not a clue how to like put it onto the chip, the little card, and then upload it to. I just use my cell phone, and I don't even have a microphone. So this is, I have my milestone for the YouTube channel. I'll be starting my third year here in March. So I'm into my third year, and I'm still with the same formula. I just
yep,
show a day in the life, and then, a lot of it's redundant. Some of it is not. And, I just enjoy every second of it. It's fun.
yep, yeah. I'm the same way. I've started to track and go back and look at the effort I put in as far as editing and creative juice in new videos, and see how well they perform compared to just
Right.
straight no real editing put in. And so I've started to kind of track that just to see if there's any trends, or because you can start digging into analytics and you can really get lost in a lot of this stuff. But
Yeah.
on the other side, it is kind of nice to see that, oh, I put a little time into this video and it gained me 100 subscribers.
Uh-huh. There are a lot of people out there that do that, though. They're very scientific with their videos. They'll search keywords and topics, and they invest money into their thumbnails, the pictures of, to entice people to click on the video. And yeah, some of my thumbnails are pretty, they're just pretty simple. I would like to be able to do that, but I don't know. I think if all I did was videoing, I would maybe be able to pull some of that off. But I feel like sometimes I got a tiger by the tail, and I can only get done what I can get done.
Yep. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of those channels are ones that are trying to find an audience and trying to find a niche. They're like searching for, they're looking at things, they're searching for terms to talk on. But like with us, the firewood community, I don't know, I think it's different than a lot of communities out there, niches or followings.
Yeah. I have, my channel has a different arc to it. And there is that side hustle niche. I don't like that word. Oh, I don't like that word. There's that side hustle element to my channel, and there's like a little bit of a businessy kind of a thing to it. But I'm not, even though I think I might sell myself short on that, that's not my thing. And I still run my business the way you see it. You do not see a business plan. You don't see a mission statement. You don't see my goals tailored for my smarty goals and all this. I'm an operator and I'm executing. So my niche, my my focus of the channel, I can expand out of firewood, but it seems like all those videos, they just do average.
Yeah.
but it's firewood. I don't know. It's who I am. It's what I do, and that's what you're going to get.
So, what I just heard back there, there's nowhere we can go online to download the Ohio Woodburner annual report for shareholders.
Yeah, it'll be, our meeting is being held at the soup kitchen.
The quarterly report, here are all the, yeah.
I need one of those bumper stickers. Don't follow me. I'm lost. If you're going to take business advice from me, you better have the address to the poorhouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. When I hear people, I'll watch other channels, for business advice and stuff. And gosh, they start talking about accounting and oh my God, I just turn it off. If that was, and that is my message, and it is true, and that's what I'm saying about like what we've done with this podcast, guys. You're planning, the term analysis paralysis, all your planning, what's it going to get you? It's going to get you nowhere. Usually, how many plans are out there that no one's ever taken action on? The objective is take action and then figure it out. I think that's, at least for me, that was the way to do it. I am not a haphazard and cavalier person either. I'm pretty methodical when you get to know me. I like to have a plan, but it's in my head. I don't even take the time to write it down and all this other gobbledygook. Take the hill. Here I go.
So you don't have like the Ohio Woodburner stand up scrum call daily review of what's going on and swim lanes to stay in and silos and spreadsheets and.
Well, we have a very firm need to truncate our fiduciaries and concretize our synergy sessions. Okay. Yeah. Gosh.
Oh yes.
I had spent a career in corporate life, and I wasn't in HR, but I was closely aligned to them. And it just makes me realize just how down I am on HR as a profession now from this, because I think of all of the times too, I was not in operations. I would stand back and have to judge operations and assess and audit and train. And how now I think back, I got to thank all of those operators for not just strangling me, because they're the ones in the trenches getting their hands dirty, putting money in the coffers. And I have the luxury of standing back and judging everything that they did,
Yeah.
And that's where I said my heart is in operations. There's different ways of being in business. If you are an accountant, good for you. If you are an HR, good for you. But my heart is in operations. I get stuff done.
Yeah, I look at the job I'm at now, and if I would relate it back to when I was growing up on the farm, if we were to try to plan out things back then like I have to do now, we'd never have gotten anything done.
Right.
There's just so much that goes into over analyzing and thinking and whatnot. But
I hear you. But Dan, that is kind of the path of the Wood Hounds podcast.
It is.
We had an idea. I remember 2 goals, 4 episodes, and we wanted our audio to be awesome. Because if you listen to some of these podcasts, the audio is terrible. It sounds like they were talking through a tennis ball. The audio is just horrible. So our audio, I hope people appreciate that, because that is the one thing I'm probably the most proud of, is the audio for our podcast is awesome. You can hear it. It's clear. It's got a good tone to it. That is what I think I'm most happy about, other than the fact that we're here and celebrating our 1-year anniversary. I think that's great.
Well, all the soundproofing that you did to the Wood Hound studio down here really helped.
Acoustics, baby.
Yes, the acoustics.
Egg cartons.
Ooh.
Egg, yeah, and then you get your needle and string, and you string those styrofoam popcorns.
Yep, the dampers, damper everything down. Yep.
I made you wear those around your neck as a necklace there to begin with, so that the tone was right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely it's been a wild ride. Now the big question, however, now that we've come as far as we have, and we are where we are right here. Thoughts on, are we going forward for another year?
Yeah. Well, we never even discussed this though.
That's why I'm putting you on the spot right now, man. This is raw.
This is probably a product that we've never had a plan. We never wrote anything of this stuff out. We're just doing it. I would continue to do this as long as it's fun, as long as you're enjoying it, and as long as our listeners find value in it.
Yes.
The way that we determine that is through your emails and obviously through the downloads, because we get pretty good statistics where we can see, what episodes are doing good and which ones aren't. But they all do good. And that makes me want to keep doing it.
Well, that's good because I have enjoyed it. I think I will continue enjoying it. And yeah, it's just like I said, I think it's now getting to that point where we built it up to where people are discovering it. It's getting recommended. More and more people are listening. So I'm ready for another year.
I am as well. I hope we can even get more and exciting victims to be interviewed to endure the Wood Hounded podcast or the Wood Hounded process.
Those 10 questions, man. There's some tough ones.
Harry Watt handled them like a pro, but some of these other guys, I was worried.
You know what we should do? We should woodhound ourselves. Even though now we know the question, so it wouldn't be fair, but we should have done that first. We should have rattled off our answers.
On
maybe
an episode,
it is tougher than we thought.
Know what to talk about. We'll do that.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
All right. Yeah. If you ever hear us woodhounding each other, guys, you know it's a bad week here at Wood Hound Studio. All right, Dan. Well, it was nice talking about this, our 1-year anniversary. The most popular firewood podcast in the world is 1 year old.
Yes, the number one firewood podcast is 1 year old.
2/22/22.
Whew.
Look how far we've come.
Yep.
Well, Dan, what do you say? It's time we strike up the band and let's go get a celebratory 1-year taco.
Nice. Yes, let's do it. All right.
Alrighty.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in and sticking with us. If you've been here for the full year, we greatly appreciate that. Joe, greatly appreciate the opportunity to actually just do this. The whole,
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
The
you
camaraderie,
do all the work.
All of it. It's been a great year. So
I love it. Here's to another exciting year, Dan.
There we go. All right.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and helping make the Wood Hounds Podcast the number one firewood podcast in the world. And I would like to tell Dan to be
safe,
have
fun,
and be cool, and
have a great day.